post. Okay, now we can see your screen.
Now you
Yeah.
can see the screen. Okay. All right. So I will start again. The art of powerful questioning, one of the cornerstones of our coaching profession. And I'm going to share my humble knowledge with all of you. So let's start with it. So before I officially begin with the presentation, this little bit about my educational background. I hold a master's degree in economics and then trained the trainer from Cambridge University and Arizona State University, USA. Then I did TEFL, teaching of English as foreign language from the Hunter College City, University of New York, certification in English language and communication skills. Then I hold the certification of Senior Certified Professional Coach from CTA, Coach Transformation Academy, and the Professional Mentoring and Training Program certification from the CTA as well. As far as my work experience is concerned, I have worked as a consultant, as a counselor, and as a trainer in BBC English Lingua Home, Laurie Green Education, Parkdale Telecommunication, Newport University, and Nestle Limited, Pakistan. Right now, I'm working as a freelancer soft skill and English language trainer and a mindset changing life coach as a senior certified professional coach. So let's begin with our presentation. I would like to give you a bird's view of what I'm going to talk about. Number one, what is powerful questioning? What exactly is powerful question? What makes it a powerful question? So we are going to learn that. Number two, the architecture of powerful question. There are certain ingredients which have to be there for a question to be a powerful question. Next, the types of questions. Then we have the benefits and outcomes of the powerful questioning, the benefits that we get out of it. Our learnings definitely about the session and then the question and answer. So let's reflect and let's ask my audience that is every question a powerful question? Yes, please. Anybody would like to answer this? Anybody would like to share their views?
I don't believe, hi, this is Romana. I don't believe every question is a powerful question. I think the potential to evoke more awareness and to give direction to the coach would probably constitute a powerful question.
Yeah, more or less you are right. So we are going to learn about that what exactly is a powerful question. But Romana, you are definitely right about the concept. This is the concept, which I'm also going to talk about in just a minute. And that is, what is the concept of powerful questioning? So there are certain definitions which are on the internet. So let's see, there are powerful questions are open-ended and empower the person responding to choose the direction they take. Number one. Number two, they create possibilities and encourage discovery, deeper understanding, and new insights. And number three, they are curious and non-judgmental as they seek further learning and connection. Now, this point, curious and non-judgmental, this is again one of the cornerstones of our coaching profession. We need to be curious and we need to be non-judgmental. And making a question which makes the client go deep down inside herself or himself to come up with the resources to have answers of their issues or their problems. So now, can I say that what is the power of powerful questioning? Can I answer that? So yes, I can say that I can answer this question. Is everybody with me? I hope so. So let's talk about the architecture of the powerful questioning. What is the architecture of powerful question? It consists of three dimensions: the construction of a question, the scope of a question, and the dimension. Third dimension is the assumption within the questions. So I'm going to talk about them one by one. Let's see. Let's start with the first one. First dimension is the construction of a question. So anybody who can answer and tell me what do they understand by the construction of the question? Yes, please. I would welcome any response. What do you think about that? Right. All right, okay. So maybe I'll give them that. A question can make a critical difference in the opening our minds or narrowing the possibilities. So the words that we use are very important. Okay, I'm going to share this with more examples that how the words play an important role. Let's see now. I think again my, okay. So the importance of word of the question example is are, do questions, is RM questions or interrogative questions. Now, if we ask a client, how are you feeling well? So what will the answer? The answer would be yes or no. So importance of words of the questions is of high priority because the client should not answer in either yes or no. Whereas if we ask the question in interrogatives, like who, what, which, when, where, and how questions, they bring up the reflective process in the mind of a client or a person, and they open up the possibilities, they become resourceful, and they think about their problems, and they come up with the proper answers. So I will share certain examples of the questions. Question is, are you satisfied with your working environment? What would be the answer? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Like, it's a closed question. And immediately the conversation closed down because either it's a yes or either it's a no. There is nothing to talk about more. But if the same question is asked again in this way, when have you been most satisfied with your environment? Now, what happens that suddenly the client would, start thinking, oh, yes, when was that? What happened? And how it happened and all that, there would be a lot of things which would be coming up in the client's mind. Next, same question in another way. What is about your working environment that makes you feel satisfied? Now, this question is really a question which makes you think and you go deep down inside yourself. What is it about my work environment? Again, the same question with the different words. How can you make your working environment more satisfying for you? So you see, the construction of question is so important that it provokes reflective process and it takes the conversation between coach and a client to a deeper level of conversation. Now, I have omitted one word, and that is why. And I have deliberately done that. Now, why is that? Because why is a very tricky interrogative question asking because the client feels either blamed or they go into a defensive mode. So we have to be very careful as a coach to ask why questions, but they should be asked in a very, very positive and a way in which the client does not feel blamed or they do not become defensive. So this is about the part one, that the construction of the sentence, of the questions. Then we come to the architecture of the powerful question part two, and that is second dimension, that is the scope of a question. Now, what is the scope? What do I mean by scope of the question? And that is, it is important to keep in mind the effectiveness of the words that should match the scope of our question to our needs. Now, what is the scope? Scope is when the domain of the inquiry increases or it expands. When the domain of the inquiry, it expands or it increases. Sharing an example, how can we manage our emotions? So it is to the self. How can we manage my emotions? It's at the micro level. Then we say, how can we manage our work group? Okay, so that comes outside myself. It goes to a certain level, one step ahead. Then we say, how can we manage our company? Okay, so now it's moving more ahead. And then we talk about how we manage our economy. Now we are really moving from micro to macro level. So what happens? That question is expanding in the scope. It is important. What is important here? It is important to tailor questions within the realistic boundaries of the topic client is talking about. And we should avoid stretching the question to avoid stretching the scope of the question too far. So when we are asking a question, it should be within the realistic boundaries of what the client's issue is or what the client wants to discuss. Moving on to the third dimension, assumptions within the questions. Now, this is a very interesting part, and you will be agreeing with me. Now, what happens is that as a coach, we have certain belief system. Everybody has a belief system, belief and a value system. And as a coach, we need to be aware of the assumptions in the question and use it appropriately. Now, what do I mean by that? That we have our assumptions because of the belief system. We make certain assumptions and we use those assumptions in the question, and we should use them appropriately. Now, I have written two examples. What did you do wrong and who was responsible? Immediately, my client would be defensive and they would say, oh, I didn't do anything wrong. Oh, I was not responsible. And, they would go into a closed up mode. They would not open up. But if I ask the same question in the way, what was your learning from the event and what options do you see now? Then their mind would light up and, there would be a lot of options and there would be a lot of opportunities coming up in their mind. They become resourceful and they would answer their questions from their own resources. So it is important to open up the space of new possibilities, the way you ask questions from the client to open up that space. So the key, I think there is one more example which I'd like to share, or there is a reminder, yes, which we have to keep in mind. What assumptions or beliefs I'm holding as a coach that are key to the conversations we are having. This is very important, that our assumptions or our belief system should not come into the questions when we are asking from the client. And secondly, how would I tackle how would I tackle this if I held an entirely different belief system than the one that I have? So we need to really think of our assumptions that we put into our questions. So the key takeaway from these three parts is that by understanding and consciously considering the three dimensions, the architecture of the powerful questioning, we can increase the power of the questions, and as a result of which, we can increase our ability to generate deep reflective insights within our clients. So I hope I am clear to everybody. And if there are any questions, I can take a pause. Jumar, is there any question from my audience?
Not yet in the chat.
All right, okay. So I can carry on. That's okay. Thank you. Now I'm going to talk about types of coaching questions. Now we all ask questions from coaches, and we have our own pattern of asking questions and making them as we feel like. Now let's see what are the types, some of them. Open versus closed question. Now they'll be clear with the help of an example. So let's see closed questions. Is RM questions. Are you feeling well? Are you satisfied? So answers are either yes or no. That is, they close down the conversation immediately. Open questions, what, where, how, what, and all those interrogatives that I have already discussed, they empower the client and they empower the recipient, and they open up and come up with the things that they want to really discuss. Next, we have leading and curious question. Leading questions, what are those? Leading questions are questions in which we give suggestions. For example, don't you think you should have done that? Now, you are telling a client to move in certain direction in which you want that person to go. Like you're leading a question, you are giving a suggestion to the client. Now, that is a leading question. You are pushing the client to your thought process, which is not a very favorable question. Whereas if you ask a curious question, what are your options? Now, immediately the client would, go into a reflective process. Yes, what are my options? I can do this, I can do that, I can do X, I can do B, I can do A, and number of things that the client can come up with. Next, we have scale questions. Now, we ask the scale questions a lot. When we want to rate any emotion, when we rate any option, when we rate any goal, when we rate anything, like, how do you scale yourself from 1 to 10? Like, my client says 5. Okay, how can you move forward to 10 or 8 or 9 or whatever? We keep on asking these kinds of scale questions for rating, or we want to check where the client stands, or where does the goal lie, and how much work a client really has to do to achieving that. Next, we have hypothetical question, that is what if questions. Now, what happens in what if questions? These questions are future oriented, and we make clients think in a different perspective. For example, what if you would stop complaining about XYZ? How would you handle this thing if time was not a problem? How would you handle this thing if money was not the problem? What would you need to do if you want to accomplish this goal? So we take the client in the futuristic, in a future position, in a future place, and we ask him or her to think in a different perspective. It's a very good way of asking questions. Next, we have informational or reflective question. Informational question that's a primary question. That's a kickstart question, actually. So tell me, what do you want to discuss? Tell me, what do you want to focus on for today's session? So tell me what happened. These are all the informational questions. And reflective questions, as I have already discussed, they are all the thought-provoking questions that we ask from the client, which helps him to, think about his issues and the options. Next, we have a miracle question. Now, this is a question when most of the clients reach their aha moment, and that is, we focus on the future, and we let the client focus what they want to achieve, and how they want to feel that feeling or smell that, or how they, they come up with all those feelings if they achieve that goal. This is I think this is a very preferably a good way of making questions. For example, what would change if you wake up tomorrow and accomplish your goal? How would you feel if you wake up tomorrow and you have achieved your goal? Or how would you feel if you wake up tomorrow and your size has decreased from 8 or 9 to 2 or 3 or 5, you have lost weight and all that? How would you feel if your problems disappear? So immediately client goes into that phase, in that space, and start thinking and coming up with their options. Next, we have solution-focused questions. Solution-focused questions are those questions in which we move the client from negative to positive. Okay, we focus on the strengths of the client. We talk about the available resources. We talk about the skills. We talk about the talents. We talk about the competencies of the client. We do not focus at all on the negative aspects. We focus on the solution rather than the problem. For example, what do you need to change in order to get XYZ? What do you need to change or you need to have in order to reach XYZ goal? What resources you require to achieve this? What capabilities, what skills you require to achieve your goal, and so on and so forth. Lastly, we come to multiple or layering question. Now, I believe, this is a very difficult thing. We keep on asking a question over a question, a question over a question, and over question over a question. Now, what happens? Suppose, for example, so you are asking a client, so where did you go? How did you go? What did you feel? Where did you park the car? What happened? Now, what happens is that you are bombarding your client with lots of questions in single sentence without taking a break. Now, what happens? The client is lost and they ask you, so can you repeat the question? And you as a coach are also, lost a little bit. And you would say, what was the question? What exactly was the question? That's, you just start thinking in your mind, what is the question? So that is not a very good way of asking a question. That's not a very preferable way of asking question. So I believe that asking one question at one time and giving time the client is the best policy. Okay, so let's move on. And let's see a system which was given by Michael B. Stainer in his book, The Coaching Habit. He introduces 7 powerful question system. Number 1, the kickstart question. What's on your mind? Definitely, we always start with this. Then we have the awe question. And what else? And tell me more. Yes, let's see. What do you have more to talk about it? And the number of phrases or way in which we ask. The focus question. What's the real challenge here for you? And then the foundation question. What do you want? What is the client there for? The lazy question, how can I help, or what do you want me? What do you want from me? The strategic question, if you say yes to this, what must you say no to? And last, the learning question, what was most useful or the most valuable here for you? So this is, I have taken from his book, The Coaching Habit, and I would suggest you to get hold of this book. It's a good book, and it tells you a lot more about the questions. This is a small clip which I've taken from YouTube. So let's see this.
The way we engage in a conversation can make it effective as a vehicle for better understanding ourselves, the other person, and whatever we are talking about. We can help create an effective conversation by remembering to ask powerful questions rather than only stating our opinion or telling people what to do. To develop our willingness to step into the less certain conversational space of asking people questions rather than telling them what to do, the quality of our questions becomes crucial. This model presents 8 types of powerful questions. Let's look at them individually. A clarifying question can make things more apparent. What do you mean when you say XYZ? Probing can help to get beneath the initial answers. Could you elaborate on that? An evocative question brings memories and emotions to mind. How would you feel if you could achieve that goal? An empowering question can help a person realize their capability to overcome a challenge. If you had the confidence to do that, what would it feel like? A discovery question aims to have the person generate ideas and possibilities. What might some options be? A learning type question helps the other person to reflect on the insights that may come from something they have experienced. What are some things that you might do differently in a situation like this in the future? The challenge type question aims to address directly something in what the other person is saying or not saying that might help them generate insight into themselves and their situation. Where does that thought come from? These can be quite provocative and should be used with care, probably mostly when the other person trusts you.
Faiza, excuse me, अगर आप आवाज ऊंची कर दें थोड़ी सी.
Is analytical and systems-based. This type helps the person to step back from the situation and to adopt a bigger picture view. What are the underlying causes of the situation you're describing? Utilizing these question types can help advance the conversation. Not every question type is suitable for every conversation. Understanding the effect a question can have on the other person helps in framing good questions. For example, in a bullying situation, empowering questions reminding individuals of their internal resources might be more effective than evocative questions that recall negative emotions. At first, it may be challenging to recall and use the question types in a conversation. With growing confidence, you'll create safe communication spaces and effectively monitor others' emotions and reactions. This empowers you to employ various question types and model philosophies suitable for the conversation's intention, environment, relationship, and desired outcome. Remember, there's no single best question, but your aim is to contribute to a genuine, insightful conversation. How do you know if it's working? Over time, you'll find yourself being more intentional in understanding the other person's perspective and constructing powerful questions.
So, what happens after you have asked a powerful question? What happens? What happens when you ask a powerful question from a client? There is silence, which is required. Now, silence is very uncomfortable for a coach because you really want to say something, but you should not. Now, why is that? Because silence is something which brings clarity to the client. Silence is something which processes things. Silence is something which brings self-awareness, self-discovery, and it is a bridge which brings or which connects the person to the infinite possibilities and unlocks the intuition or the true potential of the client. So I would say a powerful question often gets you thinking about it too, as you also go into a thought process, go into a thinking mode. It's easy to find yourself not paying attention to the other person and instead focusing on the thoughts in your head. Sometimes you also are, you're lost in your own thoughts. So it's important to stay engaged and stay within the space. So I would say that silence is the magic which make us listen to ourselves and the world around us. So silence is never empty, not for us, not for clients. We should give the space to our clients after asking powerful, empowering, and reflective questions. Then what happens after that? Practice self-restraint. That is not your space to say anything. You might be knowing the right answers, but you should stay quiet and let your client come up with whatever answers they want to answer. So I would be now moving to the benefits or outcomes of powerful questioning very quickly. Number one, it stimulates reflective conversations. Yes, it does. It generates curiosity in the listener. It's thought-provoking. It's for better understanding of the clients. It invites creativity and new possibilities. It generates energy and a forward movement. That is the crux of our coaching session. That is, it's a forward-moving process. It helps people to find their inner purpose, and it evokes more questions, and it helps people see and remove the roadblocks in their way. So these are some of the benefits or the outcomes of a powerful question. Then what happens after you have done with the result of a power-packed coaching session? What is your expectation? That your client has been, empowered, you have added value to that person, and you have broken the mindset barriers to reach out to the true potential of the client. And as a coach and as a client, I would say that I celebrate and reward myself as a coach when I do complete a powerful session. So it is very important to celebrate and reward ourselves. I think I personally a great believer in that. And I I suggest to my clients also to reward or celebrate their successes or their questions or their options that they have found the answers to their problems. So the learning outcome from today's session is number one, learning and improvement is a process, not a destination. And it should be ongoing regardless of your level or experience. Practice makes a man perfect, so keep on asking good questions all the time. Powerful question is the right key to unlock clients' true potential. So these are some of the learning outcomes which I have deducted, which I have concluded from my session. And you have your learning outcomes. With this, I thank all of you, all of my audience who have come here, given me their time, their energy, their attention. And if there are any question and answer, then we can have them after that. This is my LinkedIn profile, my email, my contact and WhatsApp number if they want to get in touch or if they want to connect with me on the LinkedIn. But I will not be stopping here. I'll be coming back to the audience as well for the question and answer. There is a small bonus which I would like to share with my audience who have come here. And that is a list of a powerful question, which I would like to give it to you. And you can use them, you can manipulate them, you can, as you feel like, you can take a benefit out of this slide. You can take a picture of it. And there are really, really good questions. And I have used them in some of my coaching sessions. So with this, I thank all of you. And I thank Omar, and I thank all my audience and all my friends who have joined from different parts of the world. And thank you so much, and God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faiza. And if you have a PDF copy or an image of that, you can also place it in the chat box.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Yes, please. So can I stop sharing the screen, and so that if there are any question and answers, we can talk about them?
Yes, sure. Why not, please? So thank you very
Let's.
much for this session, Faiza, and preparing for these wonderful questions. And as coaches, we all know the importance of questions, and it is really a bonus that at the end of the your slides you have shared what kind of questions that we can have. So it's open for questions, and we have Amira also. Amira, you are from Egypt. And then we have lots of other friends from Pakistan. So, any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, please. I would like to have some discussion,
Any?
to,
I have one
share your
question.
experiences.
Perhaps I have one question, Faiza, if you could
Yes, please.
take that on. What if, I mean, there is, I usually have that habit, in fact, to come up with a new question when, or try to explain my question to the client. So I had that habit earlier. So, but I am trying to cover up that, because once we ask a question, the coaching methodologies or standard says that just stop it there, just one question at a time.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
at certain times we have that kind of propensity in ourselves that we want to explain our questions also. How do you think we should handle that?
I personally think that it really comes with the practice. We
Mm,
always do that in the start.
mm,
I personally believe that.
right.
So after completing certain number of hours, I would say that I have learned also to ask one question at one time. As I've mentioned that in the types of questions, this layering of question is bombarding the client with the questions. And at the end, I was also like, what was the question? Honestly, I'm sharing my honest review with you, my honest feelings with you.
Mm.
But now, after certain number of hours that I've completed, I would say that, okay, now one question at one time. And I have my very senior professional coaches sitting with me. I think I would pass the question to them. I would like them to answer, please.
Yeah, they know you are
So,
right.
I make a comment on this. Thank you, Faiza. It was a wonderful presentation, and you very nicely put forward the structure and types and so on, all the questions.
thank you, sir.
I have gone through many questions during my coaching, learning, and practice. List of 101 questions, 165 questions, a whole book on questions. And they're useful. It's useful to look at what type of questions one can ask. But really, my experience is when you are with a client and you are really listening to the client, you understand each other, you have a rapport, you trust each other, you understand the client's dilemma, and you are with the client in the proverbial, the dance in the moment, as we call it, then questions automatically come to you. Where is the client? You judge that, and you yourself on the spot know what to ask. That to me is a very satisfying experience when you are really with the client. And that's where the client also knows that you two have a connection. and the questions come automatically. However, having said that, there are so many occasions when you sometimes feel lost how to move forward.
Mm.
Some of these questions can come in handy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ji, Fakia has raised her hand.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Faiza. First of all, thank you very much. It was wonderful listening to you and truly appreciate the time and the effort all put in there. And what I particularly liked was like, the second last slide, perhaps, where like it's like self-acknowledgement and celebration and reward. And I truly believe in that, especially as a coach. I don't know, maybe in training as well, all the conviction and the credibility perhaps comes from your own belief system and your own actions as well. So the things which we kind of share with people, if we don't do it, then there is, I think so that authenticity is somehow missing somewhere there. So that was a wonderful thing. As far as questions are concerned, I think so, Bukhtiyar Sahab has explained it beautifully. And I would just like to share with you, and I also would like to appreciate Faiza for you for being vulnerable as well in terms of sharing that we all stumble and struggle. So मुझे याद है जब initially, when I did my certification and all that, and I started, the coaching different relationships and discussions and all that. So one of the thing, and I think so, we being human, we have this tendency that we have to do well. We really have to do well. And that is the biggest enemy we have, that urge to do really, really, do well and impress. So I remember one of the challenges I used to face that, the question I asked, and then I would like, okay, what would be the next best question I need to ask? And that was the pitfall for me as a coach. And I totally agree with what Bukhtiyar Sahab has said. I think so one of the skill, perhaps with practice and all every coach learns, is the ability to be present in the conversation. And it is so beautiful that when you're present, then the question actually dawns, in a way. I mean, it reveals itself to you. You never have to think, "Acha, agla swal kaun sa karna hai," or it has to be the best or the most insightful of all. The most important thing is just being mentally, physically, emotionally, fully present with, in the conversation. And it just flows organically there.
Thank you, Fakia. Let me just add, I think you just triggered that. When you think that you are done, no harm in admitting, I don't know where to go from here. What do you think, which direction should we go to? Ask the client. They'll appreciate that. They'll come up with the answer.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Fakia.
Right.
And we have 3 hand risen. I think first it was Ali, you rose a hand, and then Amira from Egypt, and then Yasir. So please, Ali, very quick questions. So we have about 10 minutes now. So Ali, please go ahead.
Thank you, Faiza, for this wonderful presentation and reminding us many of the pitfalls to avoid in our coachings. My question is regarding the silence. How much silence is good for the follow-up of the question so that the client is reflective and at the same time is not lost?
Well, if you ask from my experience, I would say that so that he or she is comfortable to come back to you. If you keep prompting, I don't think that is a preferable way as far as my coaching is concerned. So I would allow my client to come back to me, and I would hold that silence, and I would be present there mentally, physically, emotionally. This is my best answer. Maybe somebody else would share their perspective, because I've done that. Actually, I've done that.
Yeah,
I have. Yeah. So sorry, Omar. You go ahead if you have.
No. I was just bringing into conversation Amira from, but you go ahead with your quick.
Faiza is absolutely right. Give him all the time that he needs, but I think there is a limit. I would say half a minute, 45 seconds, not beyond 1 minute. I think after 1 minute, the client may start to feel very uneasy that, everything has come to a standstill. So something to boost its confidence. I don't know what. At the moment, it will suggest itself.
Brilliant. Yeah, Amira?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm sorry I just joined late because of the difference in timing in Egypt and Pakistan, and I didn't notice that. Thank you so much for the board that I attended. It's very useful for me. Thank you so much. I just wanted to intervene with like three quick points. Number one, yes, I totally agree with setting questions ahead is something that at the very beginning of my sessions and my certification, I put the question in the screen and said, okay, I will pick one question or two in this situation. But when connecting with the client, really, we cannot look at the question that way. You go with the flow, you go with your client. So I totally agree. The thing is, when you mentioned silence and then self attainment, as I remember, I used to reflect for the client, not asking him about his reflection or her reflection. So this is a very good point because sometimes I explain to the client that the reflection and that's not the right thing. So I'm asking him, what's your reflection about that? What do you feel now? And how do you feel about that? So I think this is also a very good point. I'm asking you, and actually learning from you because I'm like drafting a model for the question, like highlighting the most important beginning of the question. It's evolving about what and why and how and when and who. So I think we are like asking the question from those options, like what are you going to achieve, or what is your goal and how you will achieve it, and when for the timeline or the action, and who will be your supporter, or who, and why you are choosing this goal. So I'm just asking about your opinion about this because I was thinking about this like when and it's given me like an open-ended question, not just like a closed question.
Yeah, I would, if you're asking me, then definitely. I personally, when I use these interrogatives a lot in my coaching sessions, I try to structure my questions in these words, not is, are, am. I do not ask those questions. I concentrate on what, how, what, which, where, and all the interrogatives. And if you look for interrogatives on the website or in any grammar book, you would find all these words at the list of it, and there are a number of questions as well with it, then you will have a hang of that, and that you can use them as you find comfortable or as per your sessions.
Yeah, I'm just like okay. I'm thinking about, because I'm having an approach and initiative for the students and student activities, and like I'm planning to have like peer coaching and peer coaches
Yeah.
in the universities. So I'm thinking about the simplest way to teach them, or to make them learn about how they can coach themselves and how they can coach others in a very simple way, because they are like fresh grad or the last year in the university. So maybe like minimizing the number of like the tools, what, why, and how, and when, and who. Maybe that can help them like concentrate on those things. I'm not sure. I will search about the what you have mentioned, and it's very useful. But I'm thinking about the simplest way to make them learn about this.
But Amra, I would add here that there are certain questions which are for certain purposes. Now, what questions cannot be used for how questions? Which questions cannot be used for what questions? So every word has its own meaning, and every word has its own its purpose, let's say. And we have to use, in order to use these words, the purpose has to be fulfilled, right? So I hope that what cannot be adjusted anywhere, how cannot be adjusted anywhere, which cannot be adjusted anywhere. So every interrogative is serving a purpose. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sure, and thank you so much.
Good.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yasir, quickly.
Yeah, just quickly, to be honest, Faiza, I don't have any questions to ask. I just wanted to thank you for taking time out and giving us this good refresher on what the essence of coaching really is. And I also want to congratulate you on because you're someone I've seen grow into an excellent coach. I remember our first conversation, and now seeing you playing this role.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you.
hats off to you. Lot of congratulations, and thank you for reminding us all the sense of coaching. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if there is any other questions, we still have 3 minutes, and any comments from anyone from the participants?
I just wanted to share an anecdote on that silent part. Since now I'm out of Pakistan and I do whatever coaching is online, and a lot of times your coachee is not too comfortable on coming onto the video itself. So on those moments, silence is definitely really difficult to manage, and you don't know if this pause is for something to think about or if it's something reflective. And yes, and in that way, at times I've had that I've jumped the gun. I've asked, have I lost your voice, or and I've broken their train of thought. So yeah, so in online conversation, silence is difficult. But how I manage that is, then I ask them, just like you mentioned, do you need some time to think over it? I'm here, think over it, and I'll wait for your reply. So yeah, it's something
Yeah.
just wanted to share.
Brilliant.
In the
Thank
last moment, I would just share that I took coaching session on WhatsApp call. And it was the most challenging thing for me. It was in the start of my coaching journey, and I could not see that person. I could not see the expression, the eyes, the smile, or anything. It was so difficult to connect for me to that person. But we had a good coaching session, and I hope so that my client was able to, get the best out of it. Because he did not have the Zoom thing, and he was in some remote area of our country where there was no internet or something like that. It was only his on his mobile. Video was not working, but he said he wanted to talk to me. So I was like, he was so enthusiastic that I said, no, I will take this session. And it was on a Zoom call. Sorry, on the WhatsApp call, just from the voice, I could detect. That was a great learning experience at how I could check, or how I could detect the emotions of my client from voice. That was a learning
That's
experience.
wonderful. That's wonderful to share that story. In fact, that's even.
Yeah, that was very nice.
So thank you very much, everyone. Just a quick update on our next session before we close down this one. Our next one will be on 24th of October. It would be, in fact, not on Friday. It will be on Thursday. The reason behind this is because our next speaker was not available on Friday. And by the way, our next speaker, very interestingly, our next speaker will be from Palestine. So she is from Palestine, but she lives in Bahrain, and she is one of the very senior coaches. And we will be sharing the detail about her in our WhatsApp group and also on LinkedIn. So all those who are on the LinkedIn, they can look for that session, which will be on 24th of October next month, which is Thursday, and it will be 6 p.m. Pakistan time. And her name is Rahula Hussaini. She's from Palestine and living in Bahrain. So thank you very much, Faiza, for this wonderful session.
Thank you.
And
I will share the positive slide of the questions in the group, and I will send separately to Renu and Joe over there. To you people, I'll send it separately. Okay?
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
And
thanks,
otherwise,
Faiza. Also,
Yes.
thanks very much for this session. I must also add my, gratitude for a wonderful session. Some great
Thank you so
concepts
much.
there, which you
Thank you.
summarized so well. I've taken some screenshots. But I wanted to request if you could send the link to the YouTube video because we couldn't hear
Yes.
it in the beginning
Oh,
very
I'm so
clearly.
sorry. Yes, I'll do that. I'll definitely do that. I'll share in
Thank
the
you.
group as well as I'll send it separately to both of you. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
So
you so
thank you
much.
very
Thank
much.
you.
This program is also recorded, so we would be uploading it in our group, and maybe you can find it somewhere on YouTube also. so
Yeah, I'll send you the link. That's no problem.
making celebrities
Okay.
also out of
Thank
it.
you.
So
to
thank you
Thank
everyone.
you
very
so
much.
much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Take
Thank
a
you.
good
Thank you.
weekend.
Allah
Allah
Hafiz.
Hafiz. Allah
Bye-bye.
Hafiz.
The Hafiz.